The strange arrival, it was a quiet night in a small town. The stars were shining bright and the cool wind was blowing gently through the trees. People were sleeping peacefully, unaware of what was about to happen. Far away in the dark sky, something strange was moving fast, a bright light that grew bigger and bigger as it came closer to the earth. John, a young man living alone in a small house at the edge of town, was the first to notice. He was looking out of his window when suddenly a flash of light lit up the whole sky. The light was not like anything he had seen before. It was shining, with many colors changing quickly like a rainbow. John felt a chill run down his spine. He stepped outside his house, looking up to see where the light was coming from. The light grew closer and closer, and then suddenly, it crashed into the ground not far from John's house. A loud explosion shook the earth, and a cloud of dust rose high into the air. John's heart was pounding. He wanted to run back inside, but curiosity kept him rooted to the spot. He slowly walked toward the crash site, his eyes wide with fear and wonder. As he reached the place, he saw something that he could hardly believe. There, in a crater filled with broken earth and smoke, was a large creature. It was shivering, weak, and covered with strange scales that glowed faintly under the moonlight. The creature looked like a dragon, but not like any dragon from the stories John had heard. This one was alien, something from another world. John took a deep breath and tried to calm himself. He wanted to help, but he did not know if the creature was dangerous. The alien dragon looked at John with big, tired eyes full of pain and fear. It was clear that the creature was lost and scared. John remembered the stories he had read about creatures from other planets. Some were kind, some were cruel, but none were this close to his home. He knew he had a choice: to run away or to help this strange being in need. His heart told him to help. Slowly, John reached out his hand, showing he meant no harm. The alien dragon flinched but did not move away. John spoke softly, trying to comfort the creature, though he did not know if it could understand him. "It's okay, I won't hurt you," John said quietly. The creature made a weak sound, a soft growl mixed with a low whimper. John noticed its body was trembling from cold or pain. He quickly took off his jacket and gently wrapped it around the dragon's scaly body. John then looked around for help. His phone was dead from the shock of the crash, and the nearest town was miles away. He realized he was alone with this mysterious visitor from the stars. He carefully lifted the alien dragon, surprised by how heavy it was despite its weak condition. John carried it inside his house, closing the door behind him. Inside, the warm light of a lamp showed the creature's details clearly. Its scales were a mix of dark blue and green, shining faintly like stars. Its wings were folded tightly, and its eyes looked tired but intelligent. John found some water and a cloth to clean the creature's wounds. He worked carefully, trying not to scare it. As the minutes passed, John noticed something strange. The creature's breathing was slow, but steady, and its eyes sometimes looked at him with what seemed like trust. Outside, the wind howled softly, and distant lights in the sky flickered. John could not stop thinking. Where had this alien dragon come from? Why was it here? And what danger might follow? He sat beside the creature, feeling a strange connection. It was no longer just an alien. It was a living being needing help and protection. Suddenly, a loud noise outside made John jump. He looked out the window and saw strange lights moving in the sky again. But this time they were different. Smaller ships, faster and darker, moving quickly toward the town. John's heart raced. Were these new aliens coming to save the dragon, or to capture it, or maybe worse? He looked down at the shivering creature beside him, feeling a strong need to protect it. Whatever happened next, John knew his life would never be the same. The night was full of unknown dangers, mysteries, and a promise of adventure. And it all started with the strange arrival of the alien dragon at his door. The mysterious creature, the morning sun rose slowly, casting a pale light over the quiet town. John sat by the window, watching the alien dragon breathe softly on the floor. The creature was still weak, its chest rising and falling like a tired wave. John felt a strange mix of fear and hope. This creature was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was both dangerous and fragile. As the hours passed, John tried to understand more about this visitor from the stars. He looked at the dragon closely. Its scales shimmered with colors that changed with every movement, deep blues fading into greens and faint purples. Its eyes were large, filled with pain but also intelligence. John wondered how such a magnificent being could end up so vulnerable on his doorstep. He decided to name the creature Kyle, a simple name that felt right. Kale was shivering constantly, his breath shallow as if fighting an invisible enemy inside his body. John knew he had to do something to help. He carefully wrapped Kale in a warm blanket and prepared some water. He tried to feed the creature, but Kale only sniffed the liquid and turned away. It was clear that Kale was not just tired. Something was very wrong. The strange noises from the night before stayed in John's mind. The fast-moving ships, the flickering lights. Were they coming back? Was Kale in danger because of them? The questions filled his mind, but no answers came. Suddenly, the room grew colder. The windows shook slightly as a low hum filled the air. John stood up quickly and looked outside. Hovering over his small house was a large, dark ship. It blocked the sunlight, casting a shadow like a storm. John's heart pounded fiercely. The ship's surface was covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly. He realized these were not friendly visitors. His mind raced. Were these the ones who sent Kale here? Or were they hunters coming to capture him? Kale stirred weakly but looked up at the ship with sharp eyes. For the first time, John saw something fierce in Kale's gaze, a fire that had been hidden beneath the fear and pain. It was as if Kale understood the danger and was ready to fight. John felt both scared and amazed. This creature was not just a victim. It had a story, a history he knew nothing about. He quickly closed the curtains and tried to calm his racing thoughts. He needed a plan, but all he had was his small house and his own courage. Hours passed, and the ship disappeared with the setting, sun leaving behind a quiet tension. John stayed awake all night, watching over Kale and listening for any sound outside. Then, something unexpected happened. Kale slowly raised his head and made a soft sound, a voice inside John's mind. It was not words but feelings, images and emotions. John suddenly understood. Kale was trying to communicate. Images of stars, distant planets, and battles flashed in John's mind. He saw Kale's world, a place of war, where alien dragons were hunted and forced to flee. The crash on Earth was an escape, a desperate flight to survive. John's heart broke with the story. Kale was not just a creature. He was a survivor, a refugee from a cruel war. But what could John do? How could one man protect such a powerful yet fragile being? The night grew deeper, and John felt a new sense of responsibility. Kale had come to his door for help, and John would not turn away. He made a silent promise. No matter what came, he would stand with Kale, face the unknown dangers, and fight for their chance to survive. Outside, the wind whispered secrets, and the stars watched silently. The real battle was only just beginning. Signs of danger. Days passed quietly, but John's mind was restless. Kale was slowly growing stronger, but the strange events around the town were far from over. Every night, John noticed unusual lights in the sky, blinking, moving fast like shadows chasing the stars. John's neighbors whispered about strange sounds and unexplained power outages. Some said it was just the wind. Others believed something more dangerous was coming. John knew they were right. The alien ship that had hovered before was not alone, and it wasn't just watching. They were searching. One evening, as John checked Kale's injuries, the dragon's eyes suddenly widened. He lifted his head and sniffed the air. John could feel a change, a cold wave of fear rushing through the room. Kale growled low, a sound full of warning and pain. Then, with surprising speed, he lifted his head and looked directly at John. There, coming, John heard inside his mind, not as words but as a powerful feeling, urgent, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. Outside, the sky darkened unnaturally. The wind stopped, Silence fell like a heavy blanket. John's heart pounded loudly. The quiet was not peaceful. It was the calm before a storm. Then, far away, a flash of light exploded in the sky, followed by a series of smaller bursts, like distant fireworks, but darker and more terrifying. John knew this was no accident. Cale's breathing grew faster and his body tensed. John felt the room fill with an energy unlike anything he had ever felt. It was as if the air itself was alive, charged with fear and anger. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the house. The front door slammed open with a violent force. John and Cale both jumped to their feet. Standing in the doorway was a figure, tall, dark, and covered in armor that seemed to absorb the light around it. The stranger's eyes glowed bright red, piercing through the shadows. "Where is the dragon?" The voice was cold and harsh like metal scraping stone. John stepped forward, his voice shaking but determined. "He's here, and he's hurt. What do you want?" The figure moved closer, revealing more. A face hidden beneath a helmet, but John could see the cruel smile behind it. "The dragon is a key," the stranger said. "He holds secrets that can change worlds. You will give him to us, or you will suffer the consequences." John felt a surge of anger and fear. He looked at Cale, who was now standing tall despite his injuries, eyes blazing with power and defiance. "We won't let you take him," John said, trying to sound braver than he felt. The stranger laughed, a sound that sent chills through the room. "Then prepare to fight, because we don't leave empty-handed." The air crackled as more figures appeared behind the stranger, shadowy shapes moving silently, surrounding the house like hunters closing in on their prey. John grabbed a nearby metal rod, ready to defend himself and Cale. He wasn't a soldier, but he was not going to give up without a fight. Cale's wings slowly unfolded, shimmering with energy. His roar shook the walls, a powerful sound that warned the attackers they were facing more than just a wounded creature. Outside, the sky erupted in flashes of light as the battle began. John realized this was no longer just his fight. It was a war for survival, for freedom, and for the future of both humans and aliens. And in that moment, he understood something important. Sometimes, the greatest power comes from the courage to stand when everything else is falling apart. The night was far from over, and the true test was just beginning. Unexpected visitors. The night air was thick with tension. Outside John's house, the dark shapes surrounded them, moving silently like shadows hunting their prey. The stranger in black armor, with glowing red eyes, stood at the front, waiting for a sign to attack. John's hands trembled as he gripped the metal rod tighter. Beside him, Cale's scales shimmered faintly in the dim light, his body ready to fight despite the pain he still carried. The silence was suddenly broken by a sharp crack, the sound of breaking wood as one of the attackers tried to force the back door open. John shouted, "Kyle, get ready! They're coming!" Kyle let out a fierce roar that shook the walls, warning the attackers to keep their distance. The sound was both terrifying and beautiful, an alien power that made even John's blood run cold. Then, without warning, the door burst open. 3 shadowy figures slipped inside, their faces hidden beneath dark helmets, their weapons glowing with strange energy. John swung the metal rod, hitting one attacker in the shoulder. The figure stumbled but quickly recovered, raising a glowing blade toward John. Cale leapt forward, wings spreading wide, knocking 2 attackers away with a powerful swipe of his tail. His movements were strong but careful, protecting John as much as himself. The fight was intense, but just as John thought they might be overwhelmed, a strange sound echoed from outside, a deep, humming pulse that seemed to shake the earth itself. The attackers froze, turning their heads toward the sound. Then suddenly, the front door was thrown open again. This time the visitors were not like the dark hunters John had faced before. They wore bright armor that shone like the sun, with symbols of peace and protection glowing softly on their chests. The leader, a tall figure with silver hair and calm blue eyes, stepped forward and raised his hand. "Stand down," he commanded in a voice that carried authority and kindness. The dark hunters hesitated but obeyed, retreating slowly into the shadows. The bright armored visitors filled the room with a gentle light that seemed to heal the fear and pain in the air. John looked at the new visitors with a mix of relief and confusion. "Who are you?" he asked. "We are the Guardians," the silver-haired leader said. "We protect those who seek peace. This dragon, Kale, is under our watch. The hunters you faced are enemies, seeking to capture him for their own cruel purposes." Kale's eyes softened as he looked at the Guardians. John noticed the dragon's body relaxing for the first time in days. The Guardian continued, "Kale's arrival here is no accident. He carries knowledge and power that could change the balance of many worlds. That is why both friends and enemies are drawn to him." John's mind raced. Knowledge and power? Balance of worlds? He had only wanted to help a strange creature in need, but now he was caught in something far bigger than himself. "What do you want from us?" John asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind inside him. "To protect Kale," the Guardian replied, "and to prepare, because the danger is not over. The hunters will return with more force. We must be ready." The room grew quiet again, as John looked at Kale, now resting peacefully under the Guardian's watchful eyes. A new hope rose in John's heart, but so did a deeper fear. The battle for survival was only beginning. Allies and enemies were both closer than he had imagined, and soon John would learn that even the strongest warriors need help to face the darkness ahead. Outside, the stars watched silently, witnesses to a story that was only just unfolding. The human's choice. The room was heavy with silence, broken only by the soft breathing of Kale resting under the Guardian's watchful gaze. John stood still, his mind racing faster than ever. The weight of what lay ahead pressed down on him like a mountain. He was no hero, no soldier, just an ordinary man faced with an extraordinary choice. The silver-haired Guardian stepped forward, eyes calm but serious. "John, what you do now will change everything. Kale's life, your world, and many others depend on your decision." John swallowed hard. "What choice? I just want to help him. But if the hunters come back, we'll all be in danger." The Guardian nodded. "The hunters are relentless. They will not stop until they capture Kyle. But you have a chance. An offer." John's heart skipped. "An offer?" "Yes," the Guardian said softly. "We can protect Kyle and you. Train you to fight, to stand with us. But it means leaving behind your old life, your safety, and stepping into a war that spans stars." John looked at Kale, whose eyes opened slowly, meeting his with a mix of trust and hope. The dragon's strength was returning, but the fight was far from over. Inside John, a storm raged. Fear, doubt, and a flicker of courage all battled for control. Could he do it? Become part of something so big, so dangerous? "If I say yes," John began, "what happens to my life, my family, my home?" "They will be protected," the Guardian assured him. "But your life will change forever. The galaxy needs heroes, people willing to stand for what is right even when it's hard." John closed his eyes. He remembered the night the alien dragon fell at his door, shivering and broken. How he had reached out his hand when others might have run away. That simple choice had pulled him into a war he never imagined. He opened his eyes, voice steady now. "I'll do it. I'll protect Kale. I'll stand with you." The Guardian smiled, a rare warmth in his serious face. "Then prepare yourself, John, because this is just the beginning." Over the next days, John trained with the Guardians. They taught him how to move quietly, how to fight with simple weapons, and how to trust the strength inside himself. Every lesson was hard, but John felt something growing inside him, a new kind of power born from courage and hope. Kale recovered faster than anyone expected. His scales shone brighter, and his wings stretched wide. The bond between John and Kale grew stronger, like two lost souls finding a new path together. But danger was never far. Every night, the sky held new threats. Distant lights moved closer, and the hunters' whispers grew louder. John knew the next battle would test everything he had learned. One night, standing on a hill under the stars, John looked at Cale. The dragon's eyes glowed softly in the dark. "We're ready," John said. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Cale gave a low roar, a promise that they were no longer alone. Two unlikely allies bound by fate and choice, and in the shadows unseen eyes watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. The war for survival was far from over, but John had made his choice, and that choice could change the fate of worlds. Battle for survival. The night was thick with tension, the air heavy as if the world itself was holding its breath. John stood beside Cale, their eyes fixed on the dark horizon where the first shadows of the enemy began to appear. The hunters were coming back, stronger, faster, and more merciless than before. John's heart pounded like a war drum, but this time he felt ready. The training with the Guardians had sharpened his senses, but he knew this fight was about more than skill. It was a test of courage, of will, and of the bond between a human and an alien dragon. As the enemy ships descended, the sky lit up with flashes of light and thunderous roars. Cale spread his mighty wings, his scales shimmering under the moonlight, glowing with a fierce energy that seemed to grow with every breath. The first wave of attackers landed, dark figures moving like shadows across the ground. They were fast and ruthless, their weapons crackling with deadly energy. John gripped his blade tightly, moving beside Cale, ready to protect the creature who had come to mean so much. Together, they were an unlikely team, a human and an alien, fighting side by side against impossible odds. The battle was brutal. Cale unleashed bursts of fire that lit up the night, sending enemies flying. His claws shredded through armor and his roar echoed like thunder, shaking the ground beneath their feet. John fought with everything he had, using the training and his instincts to outmaneuver the hunters. Every strike was filled with desperation and hope. He was fighting not just for survival, but for a future where Cale and others like him could live free. Amid the chaos, John noticed something strange. The hunters were not just attacking blindly. They were searching for something inside Cale, something hidden beneath his scales. Cale's wings faltered for a moment, a sharp pain crossing his eyes. John's heart clenched. The bond between them was strong, but he could see the toll the fight was taking. Then, from the shadows, the leader of the hunters appeared, the dark figure with glowing red eyes who had first come to John's door. He moved with deadly grace, wielding a weapon pulsing with dark energy. "Give us the dragon," the leader shouted, voice cold and commanding. John stepped forward, blade raised. "Never. We fight for freedom." The leader laughed, a sound that chilled John's blood. "Then you will die." The final battle began. Cale roared, charging at the leader with wings spread wide. Fire burst from his mouth, but the leader was quick, blocking the attack with a shield of dark energy. John dodged a blast of energy, closing the distance. Their blades clashed in a shower of sparks. The fight was fierce, every move testing John's limits. But just when it seemed the hunters might win, something inside Cale awakened. A deep power, ancient and wild, surged through him. His scales blazed with light. His roar turned into a song of the stars. John felt the power wash over him. Strength, hope, and a bond that could not be broken. Together, human and dragon pushed back the hunters, forcing them to retreat into the night. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. John looked at Cale, breathing hard but alive. "We did it, but they'll be back." Cale's eyes met John's, filled with fire and promise. This was only the beginning of a new chapter, a fight not just for survival, but for a future where humans and alien dragons could stand together, stronger than any enemy. And under the stars, their story grew. A story of courage, friendship, and the power to change destiny. New beginnings. The dawn broke slowly over the town, painting the sky with soft hues of orange and pink. The battle had ended, but its echoes still hung heavy in the air. John stood beside Cale, both exhausted yet unbroken. The fight had changed them, body, mind, and soul. The hunters had retreated, but their threat remained, a shadow lurking in the dark corners of the universe. John knew that peace was fragile, but hope was stronger. The Guardians gathered quietly around them. The silver-haired leader spoke with a voice full of both warning and promise. This victory is only the first step. The galaxy watches now. Some will come as friends, others as enemies. Your choices will shape what comes next. John looked at Kale, who stretched his mighty wings slowly, the glow in his scales fading to a calm shimmer. The bond between them was deeper than ever, forged in fire and trust. "What now?" John asked softly. "Now," the Guardian said. "You prepare. You build. You protect. The world is bigger than you ever imagined, and you have a role in its future." Days turned into weeks. John trained harder, learned more, and grew stronger alongside Kale. The small town that once seemed ordinary became a hub of new life and new hope. People began to believe in the impossible, that humans and alien dragons could live as allies, friends, even family. But with hope came new challenges. Strange signals from distant stars, whispers of old enemies gathering strength, and mysterious visitors arriving with unknown intentions. One evening, as John and Kale sat under the stars, a soft hum filled the air. A message arrived, ancient and powerful, calling them to a faraway world where the next chapter awaited. John felt a mix of fear and excitement. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers and wonders beyond imagination, but he was ready. Because now, he was more than just a man. He was a protector, a friend, a part of something greater. Kale's eyes shone bright as he lowered his head. John reached out, their hands touching scales, human and alien, bound by choice and destiny. "Let's go," John said. "Together," Kale answered in a voice only John could hear. And as they rose into the night sky, the stars themselves seemed to watch with hope and wonder. Their story was far from over. It was just beginning.